Hi, this is Justin from Hotspot Nymphing, and today I'm going to show you the complete setup for fishing the dry dropper and some thoughts on the best times and conditions to fish it. So let's get to it. A dry dropper, sometimes referred to as a hopper dropper, is a fun and effective way to catch fish year-round. In this rig, a dry fly is attached to the tippet, and a nymph is then attached below the dry. The dry fly sits on top of the water column and acts like an indicator, because when it darts under or hesitates, it means a nymph has either touched the bottom or a fish has eaten it. The best rod for a dry dropper depends on the situation. Are you fishing a big river that allows for longer casts, long drifts, and lots of mends? In this scenario, a longer 9 to 10 foot, 4 to 6 weight rod would be ideal. A longer rod will allow you to control your drift at a distance. If you're fishing a small brook trout stream, just under your rod tip, a shorter 7 to 9 foot rod, 2 to 4 weight, would be more useful in that situation for the dry dropper setup. The shorter rod will allow you to be more accurate, and it will be easier to maneuver in the tight spaces. Make sure when you're choosing your rod it has enough length to pick up the line off the water and not allow drag. Also choose a good weight that has enough sensitivity or backbone for secure hook sets for whatever size fish you're chasing. I love using my 10 foot 3-weight syndicate for dry droppers because of the extra reach, and I can switch from other techniques like Euro nymphing very quickly. Another thing to think about when choosing your rod length is if you're fishing a river with a consistent current going downstream. In that sort of river you can get away with a little bit shorter rod because there will be a little bit less chance for drag. But if you're fishing pocket water with different chutes of current going every which way, you're going to need a longer rod so you can hold your line up off the water to reduce drag. Drag is when your flies are moving at a different speed of the current. What we're generally trying to achieve with a dry dropper is a dead drift, where your flies are moving at the exact same speed of the current, basically spoon feeding the trout that are facing upstream. Trout will often refuse a dry dropper rig that has drag. Drag is caused by too much tension with the line, and if there's a different current speeds through the river, the line will get pulled all over the place, and if it's sitting on top of the water. With a longer rod, you can hold your line up off the water, reducing drag. The reel for dry droppers doesn't matter much because it's mostly just used to store your fly line. Spend the money on a good rod or line, not your reel. For a line, a weight forward or trout taper will work just fine. A Euro line is a little bit harder to cast than lines with more weight and taper, so I'll take a weight forward line if I know I'm going to be dry dropper fishing all day. For a leader, you can buy a normal 3 to 5x, 7 to 9 foot tapered leader and it will work super well. I do use a shorter Euro leader that works really well for dry droppers, nymphing, and micro streamers, and I can switch between those tactics really well. I actually made a video about my Euro leader, so go check that out. It'll be in the description of this video. Once you have your rod, reel, line, and leader, there are many ways to set your flies up. You can tie a blood knot with 2 pieces of tippet, leave the tag long, and attach your dry to the tag, and the nymph to the loose end of the line. This one works well if you can hold your line up off the water tight lining and create a triangle of your tag and then the nymph below. Another way is you can attach your dry fly to the tippet, then tie another piece of tippet through the eye of your dry fly, then place your nymph on that other piece of tippet below. A third way is to tie a piece of tippet to the bend of your hook off the dry fly. If you're using a barbless dry fly, I wouldn't recommend tying off the bend because it could easily slip off. Experiment with these different ways and find what you like. I do use a combination of all of these for different situations. For the top fly, my favorite dry flies for this setup tend to be bush ear styles that float very well because light dry flies will sink due to the weight of the nymph below. For a lighter weight rig, I like smaller sizes 16, 14, and 12 flies. Some of my favorites are Mr. Rapidan's, High-Vis Coachman's, an elk hair caddis, and a big head caddis. For nymphs, for the lighter weight rigs, I like sizes 16 to 20 with 2mm or 2.3mm beads. I like Frenchies, hare's ears, rainbow warriors, waltzworms, and surveyors, or any other nymph that works in your area. For heavier rigs, I like even bigger and bushier dries like stimulators, a bugmeister, and foam flies like beetles or the chubby Chernobyl. With heavier rigs, I often use size 16 to 12 nymphs with a 2.8 or 3.3 millimeter tungsten bead. You will find that you'll enjoy fishing a dry dropper in the warmer months, especially when the fish are looking up for food. It's a really delicate presentation that you can perform from pretty far away, great for super clear spring creeks like in my area. The dry dropper is very fun to fish as it's very visual and it catches a lot of fish. Works best when the fish are higher in the water column and willing to come up to eat a nymph or the dry fly. You can fish deep with a heavy nymph and a big dry fly, but I'll generally just nymph if I need to fish deep. This is a great way of fishing if you're new to fly fishing, but also can be a very advanced technique allowing for a variety in presentations. Thanks for watching.